is there still a midnight buffet? And the answer is no. The midnight buffet has been something that's been gone for quite a while. It's the midnight buffet comes from the older era of cruising. Years ago, and I say years ago, I'm talking decades ago. Cruises used to have a midnight buffet because back then there was like two places to eat on the ship: the main dining room and the buffet, and that was it. Okay, we're talking about cruises in the 70s and in the 80s to some extent. That was the norm. Nowadays, there's a ton of places to eat. So the need for a midnight buffet has been reduced because back then, if you only had the main dining room, maybe the buffet earlier on, if they had that greatly limited the amount of options that you had. And so for that reason, the cruise lines were like, well, we need to give somebody an option for like when they get hungry late at night, and that was the midnight buffet. But again, cruising has evolved. Cruise ships have gotten bigger. There's more dining venues, and there hasn't been a need for it. So the concept has been retired. What are some tips and tricks for Club Royale to get as many free cruises as possible? I guess it depends on your definition of free, but essentially, the more you gamble, the more offers you may get. So certainly want to maintain your status. So I would simply say, and I'm not a Casino Royale expert. What Eduardo is referring to is folks that gamble a lot. The casino on Royal Caribbean has its own customer loyalty program called Casino Royale, and they do offer a number of benefits, including free or heavily discounted cruises to people who gamble a lot, which of course, is it really free because you gambled a lot and you lost a lot? I don't know. But honestly, I don't know that there's any rhyme or reason to it, Eduardo. I've seen plenty of people who gamble very little and get a free cruise offer, and people that are there all the time and don't get nearly as many. But if there's one common thread, I would simply say, certainly when you're on board the ship, make sure your SeaPass card is in, you're getting all your points, and maintaining your status over there. What is your favorite ship sailing to Alaska? Planning to go to Alaska next year. If you've never done Alaska before, I would highly recommend either Quantum or Ovation of the Seas. They are big ships, lots to do on board. You're not compromising on onboard experience. They cruise round trip from Seattle. It makes it really easy to get to your cruise port. It's probably cheaper, especially Kayla, if you live in the U.S., and I think you do. So you're doing domestic airfare as opposed to going to Canada and dealing with all that stuff. So I definitely would recommend if you're going to Alaska, if you want to do Alaska cruise next year, a couple things, Kayla. Ovation or Quantum is a great choice because they cruise out of Seattle. Number two, I would book your cruise like now. Alaska cruise prices can be very expensive, and as you get closer to the sail date, a lot of the best cabins go. So if it's important to you to be in a balcony or in a suite, certain weeks of the year, it might be a really good idea to book in advance. So yeah, definitely a good idea. So hopefully, Kayla, that answers your question there. Have you tried the helium balloon at Coco Key? I've been considering it for some reason. Yeah, I've done it 2 or 3 times now. The issue with it is just that a lot of times the weather has to be absolutely perfect for the balloon to go up. If there's too much wind, then it won't go up there. But if you do get to, and by the way, if there's too much wind, they'll cancel and refund you. It's not like you're out money by any means. But it's a really cool thing. I was like, how cool could it be? It's pretty neat. I mean, it's unparalleled views up there. Really, really impressed. So the issue more than anything, Chris, is if you're going to book it, that's fine. Just understand there's a good chance it won't go up because of the weather. So just keep an eye out on that. So my cousin's first cruise, she's not vaccinated. Is there anything extra she needs to do? For example, notify Royal Caribbean she's unvaccinated, protocols other than testing. No. Basically, I mean, I'm not sure where you're going. Independence, so this is not an issue with you cruising out of like some weird country to some place like Canada or anything like that. You're good. So as long as you're not visiting one of the countries that has requirements in place, no, you don't have to do anything special to notify Royal Caribbean. Just follow the testing procedures for your cousin. And that's it. There's nothing special to do. I know you enjoy food. What is your favorite dessert in the main dining room or specialty restaurant? In a specialty restaurant, it is almost certainly the campfire cookie at Playmakers. So good. That is just like, it is the bee's knees. In the main dining room, gosh, I'm a sucker for, a coffee ice cream, Ron. That is my favorite thing. It's classic and I love it. We're still good with no vaccine requirements in Florida. Correct. Royal Caribbean updated and relaxed its protocols earlier this month, beginning September 5th. So you should, number one, go look up the protocols for yourself. There are a couple things. There's some testing requirements still in place in some situations, but the majority of them, the chief among them, if you're unvaccinated, you are able to go on a cruise out of Florida as long as you're not going to Bermuda or Canada. So really, really good there. We're going on Oasis of the Seas, October 23rd for our honeymoon. It's our first cruise. Did they do anything special for honeymooners? Also looking forward to a Daytona excursion. First of all, congratulations on your honeymoon. That's awesome. They don't do inherently anything special. I mean, certainly, here's what I would tell you. Number one, let your waiter in your dining, anywhere you eat, let them know it's your honeymoon. Hey, thanks for having us here. It's our honeymoon. Excited to eat. You never know. You might get something special out of it. But there isn't like a um other than your stateroom decorations, which you could purchase. There is, if you go to the cruise planner, there's an option to purchase decorations for a honeymoon. Other than that, there's nothing official about it. But in practice, when you mention it's your honeymoon, usually you get a little dessert, a little celebration, who knows what. So let your stateroom attendant know, let your attendant, dining room attendant. Also, one more thing, tell your travel agent to put on your reservation in the notes that it's your honeymoon. One other thing to keep in mind there. So, has Royal Caribbean put out a timeline for when and what ships will have Starlink available? Wouldn't that be nice? The answer is no. I asked them for it. When they announced it, I immediately emailed the Royal Caribbean and got a non-answer back. So the answer is there is no answer yet. If I have one, I will absolutely post it at royalcaribbeanblog.com. But as of right now, there's no schedule that I'm familiar with. Can you please explain how an overnight works in Cabo and what do you recommend to do there? Um, Basically, when you have an overnight cruise anywhere, your cruise ship is like a floating hotel. So you can come and go as you please, anytime, day or night, unless there's specific requirements. That's how it works there. In terms of what to do, you definitely want to go, like, depending on time of year, whale watching. I'm not sure when you're going on your cruise, but whale watching is a fun activity. There's the Cabo Wabo Tequila Factory, which is run or founded by former Van Halen frontman Sammy Hagar. That could be a really fun thing to do as well. There's lots of cool things. We actually have we have an article, Garrett, on royalcaribbeanblog.com with top 10 things to do in Cabo. If you're looking for some suggestions over there, just Google Royal Caribbean Blog, Cabo, things to do, and you'll find the article. Trying to figure out parking coming from Central Pennsylvania, sailing out of Port Liberty. And here's some parking recommendations. Yeah, park at the port. I don't care how much money you can save off site. I don't care about any of that. The convenience factor alone is worth it. Park at the port. Nothing to do in advance. Just simply show up there. You'll be good to go. Park at the port. You'll thank me later when you're driving home without having to wait for like a shuttle or anything like that. Best resort passes, not Atlantis, in Nassau. So I'm actually checking out. There's a couple of them that I'm going to recommend. I have not been to them personally. My staff has been to these three. So actually 2 out of 3. So full disclosure. But here's the 3. If you're looking for like, Amy, you want to just like relax and hang out at the pool or the beach, then the Warwick Hotel one is really good. You can get all these, by the way, through resortforaday.com. Resortforaday.com. The Warwick is good if you want a chill day. Margaritaville Resort is good if you got like kids and you want like a water park for them. That might be good. The third option, one that I am trying out early next month when I go on Independence of the Seas, is we're going to go to the Baja Mar has a day pass. They have an amazing water park there by the looks of it. So one of those 3 might be a good alternative to all that. You think Royal Caribbean will spice up their room service menu now that Carnival is doing the same? Everything's possible. They redid the room service menu. It was before the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken. I know this much, and I've spent a lot of time speaking with Royal Caribbean's Vice President of Food and Beverage, Lincoln D'Souza. Great guy, really smart dude, knows his stuff. And one thing I picked up, the answer to your question is not aware of any plans to do so. But in speaking with Lincoln, he is the kind of person who is always evaluating the dining options on there. And while what one cruise line does may not be because Carnival did this, thus we must do that kind of thing, it certainly is a consideration. And I am certain that they're aware of it, number one. And number 2, are always evaluating, the possible options that are available to them. So you never know. But typically menus, whether it be at room service, dining room, or even specialty, don't have wholesale changes all that often. They don't really have that level of change, if that makes sense, all that often. Our check-in time is 10:30 a.m. Do we have to stay on board once checked in, or can we do a few things off the ship afterwards? You can. I've often found it's a real pain in the butt. It seems like a reasonable idea, but because you have to go back through security again, I think it's just more hassle than it's worth. But yes, you could check in, do all that stuff, and then leave and go do something else to come back later on. To be back before the last boarding time. But it's just like there's not that much time, number one. And number 2, once you're on board the ship, there's a lot of amenities available to you on board. You've got included food. If you have a drink package that's included there. So, it's one of those things where it's like, it seems like a good idea on paper. And then when you get on board the ship, you're like, oh, forget about it. We're just going to stay on board and go to the pool. So the answer is yes, you could, but I would caution you that it's just, you don't have that much time. It's not like you have like, by the time you have to be back on board, it really wouldn't be worthwhile, quite frankly. What's the weather like in November in Miami and Labadee? warm, hot. It's still pretty warm. No matter where, I don't know where you live, Fred, but November is still very much a warm month. It will still be in the I'm gonna guess it's still gonna be in the 80s where you're going. So expect warm temperatures. It's doesn't really cool down in the tropics until usually around January or so. It's certainly maybe the humidity might be a little bit better, especially in Miami, but that's about the extent of it. So a little more comfortable than obviously right now, but it will still be warm. Pack your shorts. What do you recommend at ports? Cozumel, Costa Maya, and Roatan. Cozumel, I like going to. I'm gonna say the beach for all of them, but Cozumel, Paradise Beach, or Nachigokum for all inclusive. Costa Maya, not Maya Chan, which is another all inclusive. Roatan, there's a lot of cool things to do. Zip lining is really popular here. Mayan Princess is a shore excursion you can book, which is like semi-all inclusive beach day. A lot of people do like animal encounters in Roatan, so they'll do sloth holding a sloth and monkeys, and like we did one where we, when I say we, I mean my wife and kids because I'm not crazy. Love them. But we held a sloth, baby monkeys, did not hold them, but they fed iguanas. Was there something else we held or fed? I don't remember, but there was a lot of animals. There's a lot of people. A lot of people do a lot of animal encounters when they're in those areas right there. We will be back again next Monday to talk more Royal Caribbean right here on YouTube. Until then, have a great rest of your week, everybody. Stay safe out there. Do something fun. That's important as well. And we'll talk again very soon right here on YouTube. Bye, everybody.